All right, I believe we are live, and hello to everyone who is here. I see we already have over 300 attendees. So hello to everyone, good day, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm joining you from New York, from the UN Pension Fund, for this presentation today focused on separation, and specifically on separation for those who will separate with less than 5 years of contributory service. So just a few reminders before we start the session. Number one, that these sessions this week are all focused on separation. So we have a session today, a session tomorrow, and a session on Thursday. Every session for 90 minutes from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so time in New York. The sessions cover different topics, and I will just quickly flash the reminder of these sessions. We have also put that into the Q&A in case you can see. So today's session again is focused on separating with less than 5 years of contributory service in the fund. So if you separate and at the time of separation, you contributed less than 5 years to the UN Pension Fund, this is your session, and you will receive information that is specifically relevant to you today. If, however, you fall into the group of those who are separating with 5 or more years of contributory service in the fund, and you are separating at an age younger than your early retirement age, which could be either 55 or 58 years of age, depending on when you joined the UN Pension Fund, then tomorrow's session is the one that you should be attending, because we will cover specifically the benefit options that would be applicable in your case. And again, if you had 5 or more years of contributing to the fund, but separate at an age younger than early retirement age, tomorrow would be your session. And thirdly, if you fall into the category of those who separate with 5 or more years of contributory service, and at the time of separation, you are somewhere between early and normal retirement age, then the session on Thursday would be your session, because on Thursday we will cover the benefit options specifically available to those who fall into that category. So that is a reminder so that you can decide whether today's session is the right one for you, or whether you want to log off and attend tomorrow's session. If you're not sure about your normal and early retirement ages, we also posted in the Q&A chat a link to a web page where we explain your early and normal retirement ages, so that you could check in case you're not certain, and then decide which session to attend. So this is just a quick reminder. At this stage, we will start the presentation, but just before, quickly some housekeeping so you know what to expect. During today's session, we will cover key topics for anyone separating with less than 5 years of contributory service. We will talk about your options at separation. We will talk about the practical information that you may need to prepare for separation, so required documents, etc. And then finally, we will go over the fund's website and your member self-service to show you where you find tools and information that is especially relevant if you are separating. And we should cover all of this within the next 60 minutes. Thereafter, we will have about 20 to 25 minutes to address questions. So once we have finished the presentation, we will open the Q&A chat. You see somewhere up there, there's a Q&A that you can open. And we will open that once I have finished presenting today, at which time my colleague Denise, who is here with me, who is another pension expert, will take the questions that are most relevant for everyone and moderate them so that we can address a few more questions at the end of this presentation. So we hope to have finished within an hour with the presentation, and then we will have around 20 to 25 minutes for Q&A, where you can ask questions that we will then answer. And that should then conclude the session in an hour and a half at around 10:30, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I hope that is useful, and I hope, of course, that today's session will be useful for you. So the key takeaways that we hope you will take with you when leaving the session are basically three. Understanding your benefit options, so you know what your options are. Also understanding how we calculate your entitlement in the future, and giving you, therefore, the empowerment that you make an informed decision and you make the right decision for yourself in terms of choosing what option is best for you. Also, we want you to walk away knowing how to prepare for separation from a pension perspective. We want you to know and understand what the document requirements are from the UN Pension Fund, have an idea of the processing timeline and what impacts that timeline, and finally, useful resources that will help you with that separation preparation. And then finally, we hope that walking away, you will feel confident that you know where to find useful pension information and tools, self-service tools, whether on the UN Pension Fund website or inside your UN Pension Fund member self-service, where you can access very important information that includes an estimate of your future entitlements. Finally, of course, we hope that you will walk away knowing how to get in touch with us in case you needed information in addition to what we provide today and what you can find on the website and in member self-service, so that you can prepare well and feel confident when you separate that you are ready for separation and the decision with regard to your future entitlement. So with that, I will start the presentation. Please note that the presentation, so this document, as well as the recording of this session today, will be posted on the Pension Fund website on a page called the Pension Town Hall webpage, where you can access this recording and presentation, but also where you can access all the recordings and presentations of past pension sessions that we have provided since January last year. They are longer and shorter versions of different topic sessions, and where you will be able to access information about future pension briefings so that you know what is coming up and whether it might be useful for you to attend. So that is what you can expect from today's session, and that is where you can find the presentation and the recording of today's session. So specifically, we will cover just a few principles that determine your entitlements from the fund. Then we will explain your benefit options. Then we will talk about how to prepare for separation from service. And finally, we will give you a quick demo of the website where you can find useful tools specifically for separation and of member self-service to show you how to access it, but also how to navigate it and where to find tools that are especially useful when you prepare for separation. Before we go into the benefit option information, just quickly a reminder of what the Pension Fund of the United Nations is. So we are an entity that serves close to 240,000 members, including active participants like you and me, but also those in receipt of benefit payments from the fund. So we have about 150,000 active participants who are staff members of the 24 member organizations of the UN Pension Fund. And you're part of that group, of course. And we have close to 90,000 members who are currently in receipt of a payment from the fund in the form of a retirement benefit or a disability benefit or a survivor's benefit. So in total, again, we serve over 240,000 members. This is the number at the year end 2024. In terms of funding, the UN Pension Fund is very well funded. We currently have close to 97 billion US dollar in assets, which is actually a few billion more than we had at the beginning of April. So that is good news. The market value is increasing, or at least has been increasing over the last months. But of course, there are constantly fluctuations upward and downward, reflecting what is going on in the international markets. Overall, however, the fund is very well funded. It has a funding ratio of over 100%, which means that we are strongly funded and we have the money we need not only to pay the benefits that we are currently paying to those over 89,000 people who are entitled, but also the money for those who are entitled to benefits in the future, including, of course, you. And just as a comparison, so you have an idea, we receive income from the contributions of us members, participants, so the staff members who are paying contributions to the fund. In 2023, we received over 3.4 billion US dollar income, and we had to pay benefits at a rate that was a little bit higher, at the rate of just over 3.52 billion US dollar in terms of payouts. So you can see that the income that we receive from contributions nearly covers the payments we have to make to those who are entitled to a payment from the fund. And that the over 96 billion US dollar that we have as assets actually just serve to close that little gap of less than 0.1 billion US dollar. So that's just to give you a sense of the pension fund and its funding status. If you have any questions about the solvency of the UN Pension Fund, please note that in this presentation, there's a link to a page on our website about actuarial matters. To those of you who might be interested to dive a little bit deeper into that topic, you may want to visit our website and look at that page and the information that we provide there, explaining plan design and the actual oversight of the fund and how it works, and of course, including information about solvency. And if you are interested in more information, you could watch the town hall that the pension fund's chief executive of pension administration, together with the representative of the Secretary General for Investments, provided on 11 April 25, so just about a month ago, when they explained the current status of the fund, including for solvency questions. So if you're interested in that regard, please use these resources. They should help clarify and reassure you that the fund is truly in a very solid funding status and that our benefits are secure. Now, we're going into our first part, which is talking about key principles that determine your entitlement from the UN Pension Fund. So, as you saw a bit earlier, you saw that depending on different factors, we are entitled to a certain kind of benefit. So what are the key principles that determine what kind of benefit someone is entitled to from the UN Pension Fund? It is basically determined by the length of your contributory service. You are here today because you are part of the group of those who at the time of separation have less than 5 years of contributory service. This means that you have the option to receive a payout from the fund called a withdrawal settlement. That is your only benefit option from the fund based on the fact that your contributory service is less than 5 years. Only if you had 5 or more years of contributory service and therefore so-called vested pension rights, meaning the entitlement to a form of retirement benefit. So only if that were the case and you had 5 or more years of contributory service, would you have other benefit options than the withdrawal settlement. So today, in this presentation, we are going to focus on the withdrawal settlement, which is your only benefit option, plus another option you have that is not a benefit option, but a choice you can make to actually not receive a payment, but leave your holdings in the fund. I will explain that, of course, in more detail in just a moment. But what is important here is to understand that if you have less than 5 years of contributory service, the only benefit you are entitled to at the time of separation is a withdrawal settlement. It's a one-time final payment from the fund. Now, your options when you separate with less than 5 years of contributory service includes the second option, which is not a benefit, as I just said, but allow you to leave your money in the fund and to leave it there for up to 36 months from your separation date if you wish. I will explain in a moment why anyone would choose to do that rather than receiving the payout. But right now, I want to focus on the fact that with less than 5 years of contributory service, the choice you have to make at the time of separation is to either take a payout, which is called a withdrawal settlement, or leave your money in the fund and see whether you rejoin the UN pension fund and the service of the UN in some capacity within 36 months from your separation date. So let's first look at where you can find some relevant information to determine the length of your contributory service and also to know what your withdrawal settlement amount would be if you were to separate. So the information about your contributory service, about the amount of the contributions you made to the fund, and other relevant information for your specific case is available in your annual pension statement. That is a document issued by the fund once a year, and it covers the period of your participation in the fund since you joined the fund till the most recent prior year end. So currently, if you were to go into your member self-service and you go to the tab called Documents, you would see an annual pension statement for 2023. The one for 2024 will be published shortly, within, I think, probably about a week or so. But right now, if you go in, you would see your pension statement that goes up to year end 2023, starting from when you joined the UN Pension Fund. And it would give you that overview of your status with the UN Pension Fund for that entire period of participation since you joined till year end 2023. As I just said, we are about to publish the 2024 pension statement, which will give you that overview, but till year end 2024, and that should be available probably at the latest by the end of May, maybe a little bit earlier. That is an important document for you to consult to be aware of your specific status with the fund. In addition, you should definitely run an estimate inside your member self-service portal of the fund, and we look at that a little bit later. I will show you how to run the estimate so that you know what to expect in terms of payment. Of course, the estimate is that it's an estimate, it's not a final calculation, but it should be fairly accurate if you run it fairly close to your separation date. It is, however, based on the data we have only up till year end 2024, or if you run it now until 2023, actually. But if the pension statement for 2024 has been published, then the data we use to calculate your estimate in the estimate tool would show you an estimate based on what your data is up till year end 2024 and project that into the future until whatever you enter as a separation date into your estimate tool in member self-service. I will show that to you towards the end of today's presentation. So definitely consult your annual pension statement and run an estimate so that you know for your own case what to expect. Remember, the data we have on file for you is based on the data reported to us by your employing organization. So if there is some data missing, the fund would, of course, provide an estimate based on the data we have. But normally you should expect for your organization to have reported data properly and in a timely manner to the fund, and for that to be taken into account when you run your estimate in member self-service of the UN Pension Fund. Let's have a look at your pension statement, or rather at a pension statement, so you have a sense what this looks like. If you have never seen this, again, please go to your member self-service and check your own pension statement so you have a sense of your own participation status with the UN Pension Fund. Now, this statement is one that was issued at year end 2023. So it's basically the most recent one for a person. And this statement includes under A, in the first line, your personal data. It includes your name. It includes the reference for your employing organization. It will indicate whether you are vested or not, meaning whether you have or not reached at least 5 years of contributory service at the time that this statement was generated. If it says Y, yes, it means yes, you have vested pension rights. You have 5 or more years of contributory service. Your group here today probably would have an N for no, because likely you have less than 5 years of contributory service at the time that this statement was generated, and therefore you do not have vested pension rights, meaning you would not be entitled to a form of retirement benefit from the UN Pension Fund at the time of separation at this time. Then it will give your date of birth. Please check that your date of birth and the spelling of your name are correct and match the data in your official government ID document and birth certificate. And if there's any issue, please report that to your employing organization as soon as possible so that they can then take action to make changes and inform the UN Pension Fund. So it's very important that when checking the statement, you check the spelling of your name and you check your date of birth to make sure it is correct. Again, if there are any issues with the spelling of your name or your date of birth, please contact your employing organization so that they can then inform the pension fund and take appropriate action. We need that information to be correct, of course. It will also provide your marital status, your category, and finally, it shows on the very right NRA, which stands for normal retirement age for pension purposes. So it shows what would be your normal retirement age if you continue to work and contribute to the fund. And if you were to do that until that age, in this case here till 62, that person will reach normal retirement age then and would be entitled to a normal retirement benefit at age 62. So this is all just for information so that you know. In case B, contributory service, you see your date of entrance into date of entry, into fund participation under B number 2. That date is the date at which you qualified for UN Pension Fund participation based on the length of your contract and your status as a staff member, that determined at what date you entered the fund. So the date for this person here is the 17th of January 2011. In your case, it's probably a different date. And then to the left of that, you have number 1, beginning date of contributory service. That is the date as of which you started to pay contributions to the fund. Usually those two dates are the same, but in some cases there could be a difference if you opted for something called validation, restoration, or transfer. If you did, you would know. And then in that box, at the bottom of this box B, you have total at 31 December 2023. So this is where you see the total of your own contributory service at year-end 2023, or whichever year-end corresponds to the statement you're looking at. So this person had 12 years, 2 months, and 27 days of contributory service at that year-end. So again, this is a person who had vested pension rights. In your case, you probably have less than 5 years showing here at that year-end 2023 or 2024 date. And then to the right, you see that this person has something under LWOP, which stands for leave without pay, / break in participation, which is equal to a break in service. So this person seems to have had 8 months and 18 days of break, during which they did not contribute to the fund, did not pay contributions, and therefore that period does not count as contributory service in the fund. It can be part of this person's participation, but it is, as we say, not part of contributory service. Contributory service are the 12 years and 2 months and 27 days for which this person paid contributions to the pension fund. And those contributions show in box C, where at the bottom under balance, you see $82,665 of contributions. So this is the amount of this person's own contributions to the fund. That's what they paid. You probably know that your organization also pays contributions to the fund on behalf of your case, and they actually pay twice the amount of what you contribute. But here we show you only your own contributions, what you paid to the fund from your salary. And we show you the interest that you earned on that contribution amount that you made. So in this case, this person, for the 12 years plus of contributory service that they contributed and paid over $82,000 to the UN pension fund in own contributions, they also earned $14,193 interest. So we all earn interest on our own contributions at the rate of 3.25% compounded per year. That amount of interest is paid out to us if we take a withdrawal settlement. In other words, what we see here under box C, contributions, is basically what we would pay as a withdrawal settlement to someone who separates with less than 5 years of contributory service, because that would be constituted of our own contributions plus the interest that we earned on our own contributions. But we will show you that in a moment a bit more detailed. And then finally, you have boxes D and E, which are about other contributions if someone validated or restored. If that is your case, you would know this. I'm not going to go into details here. And under E, we show you what we call your pensionable remuneration. That is basically your scale for pension purposes, your salary scale for pension purposes, where based on your grade and step, you have a certain pensionable remuneration scale that applies to your case. And based on that amount, you have to pay contributions at a certain rate every month. and your organization would have to contribute also a certain amount every month based on this pensionable remuneration for your specific case. I will not go into the details of this because it's not really relevant in the context of separating from service with less than 5 years. So that is your pension statement. Make sure to go to your member self-service, check your statement and verify that your personal data is correct. If not, inform your organization. And also check whether it seems to you that your date of entry into the fund and your contributory service are correctly reported. If there's anything that looks strange, please contact the pension fund or your SBC if you work for an agency so that it can be addressed as soon as possible and, of course, ideally before separation. Now we will go and look at your options in more detail. The withdrawal settlement and the option to not receive a payment but to defer your payment for up to 36 months. Before we go there, I just want to let you know that the pension fund has created over 20 videos that are only a few minutes long that you may find useful, or at least some of them you may find useful. One of those videos is this one here called Benefit Options. It explains in about 5 minutes the different kinds of benefits that the fund may pay to someone who used to be a participant and who separates. It includes the explanation of the withdrawal settlement. I'm not going to play that video right now, but you can access it via this presentation, which of course you can access on our website, or you can go to the web page on our website where we have posted all the videos that are pension topics of relevance possibly to you and members in the fund. Now, also on our website, we have several pages, and I will show them to you a little bit later, the ones that are most relevant for separation. But on one of these pages called Benefit Options, you can access actually a benefit eligibility chart where you can see that based on the length of your contributory service in the fund, you have certain benefit options. In your case, as I already explained, the options are either the withdrawal settlement or the deferment of payment for up to 36 months. But someone who has more than 5 years of contributory service would have more options. And then these charts might be helpful to compare the options and help you have a better understanding of what option might be the right one for you. Okay, now, your benefit option is the withdrawal settlement. As I mentioned, this is the only benefit you would be entitled to if you were to separate with less than 5 years of contributory service in the fund and you wanted to receive a payment. The withdrawal settlement would be your benefit entitlement. What is a withdrawal settlement? It is a one-time final payment. Once we have paid you that benefit, there are no further payments due to you, not to you or anyone else, following payment of a withdrawal settlement. Okay, so it's a one-time final payment. How is that benefit calculated? It is basically the sum of your own contributions to the fund over the months and years that you contributed to the fund. Plus, it is increased by the compound interest that you earned on your own contributions year after year. Again, the compound interest per year is at the rate of 3.25% per year. So, if you were to elect a withdrawal settlement payment, it would be the amount of your own contributions plus the interest you earned. The withdrawal settlement never includes the organizational contribution share. I just want to say that very clearly because some people think that they are entitled to the share of contributions made by the employing organization to the pension fund. That is not the case. The organizational share is never paid out as part of a withdrawal settlement. Why? Because the organizational contributions serve to fund the UN pension fund system. It serves to pay disability benefits. It serves to pay survivors' benefits, which are payable at a certain rate, regardless of the age and length of contributory service that a person may have had when they started disability, or that a person may have had at the time of death in service or in retirement, and we have to pay survivors' benefits. Okay, so that is the withdrawal settlement. It is calculated based on your own contributions plus the interest that you will have earned for the duration of your contributory service in the UN pension fund. What does that look like? This is a random example. We took a random amount. This is not a real example. So here we said, for example, if someone separates after 4 years of contributory service, they would be entitled to the own contribution amount. We are saying here, let's say this person had contributed, from their own salary, $20,000 US to the pension fund for the 4 years of contributory service. And let's say they earned the equivalent of $5,000 compound interest on their own contributions for those 4 years. Again, this is not a real example. Please don't take this as real. It's just to illustrate. So in this case, this person, after 4 years of contributory service, would receive back their own contributions plus the interest. So 20,000 plus 5,000 equal 25,000 US dollar payout in the form of a withdrawal settlement for the 4 years of contributory service that this person had and contributed at the grade and steps that they were throughout those 4 years of contributory service. Now, what would happen if you were to receive a withdrawal settlement, leave, and then within a few months or a few years, or maybe quite a few years, maybe 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 6 months, whatever it is, if you had a break in service and then returned to work as a staff member in the UN system and again qualified for pension fund participation, how could you link your past period of contributory service for which you received the withdrawal settlement with the new period that you start in the future? Is that possible? Can you link those periods? Yes, you can. And how would that work? You would have to avail of what we call restoration. That term, restoration, refers to the fact that you are reactivating the period of contributory service that you had in the past, for which you received a withdrawal settlement, and for which you would reimburse to the fund the withdrawal settlement plus compound interest to reactivate that prior period of contributory service. So basically, you would pay back the withdrawal settlement to the fund. You would also pay back compound interest. And by doing so, you would reactivate that past period of contributory service and make it again part of your overall contributory service. Then, if you separate again in the future, you'd have 2 periods of contributory service. The past period, number 1, and the new period, number 2. So by restoring, you would combine period 1 with period 2 and make it a total contributory service of 1 plus 2. When you again separate in the future, we would determine what kind of benefit you are entitled to based on the total contributory service of period 1 plus period 2. So let's say period 1 was 3 years of contributory service. Let's say you received, I don't know, $30,000 US withdrawal settlement for that period. Then you come back at that time you opt to restore and reimburse that withdrawal settlement of $30,000 to the fund plus compound interest. And by doing so, you would reactivate those 3 years of contributory service. Plus, you would now start a new period of contributory service and have, let's say, another 4 years of contributory service during period 2. Because you restored period 1, 3 years, and you have a new period 2 of 4 years, when you again separate in the future, you would combine 3 plus 4 and have a total of 7 years of contributory service when you separate. Now you have vested pension rights. So when you again separate in the future, you would actually have the option to elect a form of retirement benefit if you wish. So you see, restoration would allow you to combine these 2 periods and to potentially benefit from more benefit options when you again separate in the future. So that is called restoration. In order to avail of restoration, when you return to active service, you would have to apply. It's not automatic and it's optional. No one has to restore. You can restore. But if you wish to do that in the future, if you were to come back to active service and fund participation, then you would have to apply in writing to the fund to request to restore your most recent prior period of contributory service for which you received the withdrawal settlement. You have 12 months from rejoining the UN pension fund in the future to apply for restoration if you wish. So in the future, if you come back to the UN system and you again become a staff member and you again become a fund participant, remember this and the fact that you can, if you wish, restore a withdrawal settlement should you have received one in the past. So that's something important to keep in mind for the future should you come back in the future as a staff member and fund participant. Now, that was option 1, the option for you to receive a payout from the fund called a withdrawal settlement. Now let's look at option 2. What is your second option when you separate with less than 5 years of contributory service? Option 2 is to not receive a payment. It's called the deferment of payment or deferment of choice option under a so-called Article 32 of the fund's regulations and rules. It's an option that would allow you to leave your money, your contribution money, in the fund and not receive the withdrawal settlement payout. We call that deferring your payment from the fund. It means, obviously, that you do not receive a payment and you can defer the payment for up to maximum 36 months, 3 years, from your separation date. Now, why would anyone choose to not receive a payment? Most people are a little bit puzzled because they say, of course I want to receive a payment. Why would I leave my money in the fund? Well, there are some reasons to do that. So why would you choose not to receive a payment but to leave your money in the fund? Because it would allow you to remain within one period of participation in the fund should you come back to service and fund participation within 36 months of your separation. So in other words, if you returned to service in the UN system and the UN pension fund within 36 months from separation, and you had elected to not receive a payout, but leave your money in the fund, then you would automatically link the period of contributory service for which you deferred the payment with a new period of participation. Because you didn't receive a payout from us, you would have preserved your past date of entry into the fund, and with that, your normal and early retirement ages, which are based on your date of entry into the fund. Let me illustrate that. I joined the fund in 2007. My date of entry is in 2007, and therefore my early retirement age is 55. My normal retirement age for pension purposes is 62. So I could get an early retirement benefit as of age 55 or any time thereafter, and I would become entitled to a normal retirement benefit as of normal retirement age, in my case 62, because I joined the fund in 2007. In 2014, there was a change in normal and early retirement ages for all new entrants. It became 65 for normal retirement age and 58 for early retirement age. If I were to separate today and I receive a payout and then I return in the future, I would start a new period of participation, and with a new date of entry would have a new early and normal retirement age of 58 and 65. However, if at the time of separation, if I don't need the money, if I don't need a payment, I opt for this deferment of my payment and choice of benefit and leave my money in the fund for up to 36 months, and then come back within 36 months to work for the UN system and again participate in the UN pension fund, because I didn't withdraw any money and I didn't make a benefit election, and because I'm coming back within 36 months of my prior separation, I would have preserved my date of entry in 2007, meaning I would still have early retirement age 55 and normal retirement age 62 for whatever my future new separation date would be. So I know this is a little complicated, but I'm trying to explain to you why it might be of interest to leave your money if you think or expect or already know that you will probably rejoin the UN system as a staff member and the UN pension fund as a participant within 36 months of separation. Of course, that means you don't need the money to subsist and you can afford to leave it in the fund. So the difference between the person who receives a payout and then comes back and restores it versus the person who leaves their money, does not receive a payout, and then comes back, is that the person who received the payout and then restores it would have a new period of participation start and would have a new date of entry and potentially a different early and normal retirement age to what they had previously, even if they restore their contributory service. Versus the person who opts for the deferment of payment, who leaves their money in the fund for up to 36 months and comes back within 36 months, and who would automatically link their periods of contributory service number 1 with the new period of contributory service, and who would preserve their date of entry into the fund, and with that, early and normal retirement ages. So I hope that helps clarify why anyone would choose not to receive a payment. A few points on this. How does this Article 32 deferment work? Well, in order to elect this, you have to complete one page, the first page of a specific payment instructions form. I will show that to you in a bit later to show you how to complete that form. So in that case, you would not submit page 2 of that form, but only page 1, and inform the fund that you want to defer the payment. You would receive no payout from the fund. You would not earn interest on your contributions during the deferment period. That's important to note. And if you rejoined the fund within the 36 months of deferment, your participation would be considered continuous, with a period of break in service between your separation date and your rejoining date, which is a period that you cannot make pensionable. So there would be a period of break in service inside your participation, and you would have a first period of contributory service, separation date, a period of break in service, new date of joining the fund or rejoining the fund with a new period of contributory service starting and until a future separation date. And all of that would be within one period of fund participation. Once you rejoin the fund, of course, no benefit would become payable to you until you again separate. And at that time, we would determine what kind of benefit option you have based on your total contributory service at that time of future separation. Can you change your mind while inside that deferment period? Let's say you opted to defer, but then you realize 1 year later, I got a good job. I'm not going to quit this job. I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to be rejoining the UN system and the UN pension fund before the 36 months deferment period has expired. And I need to receive my payment, or I want to receive my payment from the fund, the withdrawal settlement. Can you then request that payment even though the 36 months deferment period is still running? Yes. Absolutely. If you want to receive payment anytime during that deferment period, you can absolutely request that, and you can end that deferment period by requesting that payment. In that case, you submit the second page of the payment instructions form, PENS E6, to the fund, together with some supporting documents, and then we will pay you. So it's a possibility. And then finally, to note that if you do not re-enter the fund within the 36 months deferment period and you didn't request the payment of your withdrawal settlement, then you have to submit your payment instructions to us and request the payment of your benefit as soon as possible after the 36 months have expired. Be mindful, if you don't come back to us within 2 years after the end of the 36 months deferment, you may forfeit your entitlement to a benefit from the fund. So make sure you contact us at least within 2 years from the end of the deferment period if you didn't rejoin the fund in the meantime. More details are available under benefit options on our webpage. There is some information about what happens if you have a break in service and you received no payment from the fund. So the option, what if you come back within 36 months and received no payment, I just covered under the deferment option. But what happens if you did not receive a payment and rejoin the fund more than 36 months after separation? In that case, you would have to request the payment of your withdrawal settlement, and you can restore it if you wish, or you can keep it, but you would definitely start a new period of participation. Now we're going to look at separation from service and some practical information to help you prepare for separation. There's another video, how to prepare for separation. So it is linked here. I will also show you in a moment where you can find it on the website. How should you prepare for separation? Register for UN Pension Fund member self-service, because there are key tools and information that you will access inside your member self-service, which is your personalized pension information. You can run an estimate. You can access all the official forms for pension purposes inside your member self-service. You can access your pension statement that I showed you a bit earlier. And you can submit documents to the fund if your organization instructs you to submit your separation documents for the fund yourself. You should run at least one estimate before separating to be aware of what to expect. You should check your personal data, as I showed you earlier, on your pension statement to make sure that it is correct. If not, please reach out to your HR. And you should attend a pension town hall as you're doing today, so that's great. We also have pension e-learning modules on our website if you wanted to take another session in your own time. If you have questions, please contact us via the official contact channels, which are linked here, and I will show you later on our website. There are some key web pages that I will show you when I do the demo, but they are also linked here to show you where to access certain information. Separating and retiring, benefit options, overview of the separation process, which has a lot of useful and practical information, general information about separation, where you can also download a flyer that we have created with a checklist. So you can download and print that and go and check off whatever you need to submit to the fund. It is organized step by step. And finally, you can consult the webpage, how to submit documents to the fund, so that you know how to do that and in which manner to submit them. For running estimates, I will show you in a moment, but here's an explanation in case you find it easier to follow on a page, how to run an estimate for your own case inside your member self-service under the estimate tab, as you can see here. Once you have entered a date, a future separation date for your case, leave the second field for the fixed lump sum empty and hit submit, at which time you have a wheel that will turn. Wait for it to end to turn until the message estimate calculation is completed shows up. And at that time, you go to the Documents tab, which is indicated by an arrow here, where you can then access the actual estimate that was generated. Here you can see under Documents, it would look like this. You would see the most recent estimate at the top of the page with the date at which you ran that estimate. Separation documents. What do you have to submit with, in the case of less than 5 years of CS, contributory service? You, the participant, you must submit your own payment instructions on a form called PENS E7 or E6. I apologize. PENS E6. PENS E6 form is available inside your member self-service under the e-forms tab, pre-completed with your name and with your UN Pension Fund lifelong reference number, which is a 9-digit so-called UID, unique ID number for your case. Please, when you submit payment instructions, use the forms inside your member self-service. So under the e-forms tab inside member self-service, you can access your payment instruction forms, including this payment instruction form for your case, which is PENS E6. All forms are available in English or French. So you're looking for the form in the language of your preference, and it is labeled E6. Together with the duly completed E6 form, you have to submit a copy of a recent bank statement for the account into which you request the payment of your benefit if you request a payment. You also have to submit a copy of a valid passport or other government-issued photo ID that includes your date of birth, name, and signature. The UNLP is not an accepted ID document. Ideally, if you have a passport, please use that, or if you have a national ID document, you can use that, or even a driver's license. That is what you have to submit. Your employing organization also has to submit 2 key documents. They have to submit from payroll the so-called separation notification, also abbreviated as PF4 or SEP. Plus, your organization has to submit a separation personal action form, which we refer to as SEPA. These documents from your organization will be submitted by your organization to the fund. You don't have to worry about those. You, however, have to make sure that you have the payment instruction form E6 ready, and you have a bank document and a valid ID document ready for submission to the fund. In terms of submitting these documents, please follow the instructions from your employing organization. Your employing organization will let you know whether you should submit your documents directly to the fund, and you can do that via your member self-service where you can upload documents electronically to us. So you would complete your payment instructions form, date it, hand sign it. We don't accept electronic signatures. You have to hand sign it. Then you create a scanned copy, and you can upload that scanned copy of the E6 form together with the 2 other supporting documents you must submit using your member self-service document upload feature, if you wish. Or if your organization tells you, no, give us your document and we, the organization, will submit them together with the organizational documents, then please follow that instruction. There's a reason why certain organizations request receiving the documents from you to then submit the whole package to the fund. Different organizations have different practices. Please make sure you follow the instructions from your organization. Once the fund has received the complete set of these separation documents that are required, we can start the process of reviewing, calculating, and implementing your benefit. If any of these documents are missing, we will not be able to start the process. Generally, on average, it takes the fund 15 business days to implement a benefit from the date of receipt of the complete set of duly completed separation documents, both from the participant, you, and your employing organization. So you can count from the time that the fund has received all these documents, 15 business days, till we will issue your payment, provided there are no discrepancies or any issues noted while we process your benefit. You can track whether the fund received your documents via member self-service under a so-called Proof Documents tab. Before I show that to you, just so you know, here are some guidance on what to do with your payment instructions E6 to make sure they are correctly completed and to ensure that the fund can process based on your submission. So please follow these instructions to fully complete, date, and hand sign the form. Depending on whether you want to receive a payment as soon as possible or you do not want to receive a payment but request the deferment of your payment, you need to submit either only page 1 if you want to not receive a payment but defer for 36 months, or submit only page 2 of Form E6 if you want to receive a payment as soon as possible. Provide complete banking instructions. Don't leave out key information. Also include the choice of currency in which you want to receive your payment. And if you don't have a bank account, you can request payment by check. CO, a UN or UNDP office, in which case you have to put that on your payment instructions. You have to provide a complete mailing address, also a personal email and a personal telephone number, so we can reach you in case there are any questions surrounding the processing of your benefit. If you are not sure about how to complete your payment instructions, you can refer back to this presentation where there is an explanation of when and how to complete page 1 step by step, and when and how to complete page 2 step by step. So this is what the Form E6 looks like. Page 1, if you want to defer for up to 36 months the payment of your benefit. Page 2, if you want to receive a payment and request the withdrawal settlement payment. Remember, once you have made a benefit election and your benefit has been implemented and paid, you cannot change your election. Where can you then track receipt by the fund of your documents? Inside Member Self-Service under Proof Documents. This page will start to be populated once we have received at least one of the separation documents for your case. And it will populate at the bottom this red box, which is not red on the website or in Member Self-Service, but here, where you can see a received date and an accepted date. If the 3 key documents listed here, SEPA, PI, and PF4, the separation notification, if the 3 have been received and there is a received and accepted date, you can start counting from the accepted date 15 business days till implementation of your benefit. That you can then track under disbursement, the tab inside your member self-service, where you will see as soon as a payment has been issued by the fund. Now the toolkit. So I will do a demo of where you can find useful information and repeat a little bit of what I already showed you. It won't be very long because we are moving to the questions, Q&A, in just a moment. But here to show you how to use our website and member self-service. What are key pages? So this is our website, UNJSPF.org. Under For Clients, if you click here on the top bar, you see where I'm navigating, you have under For Clients, participating in the fund, separating or retiring, etc. Or you have all topics. If you click on separating or retiring, it will take you to the page with the web pages that are most relevant if you are separating. If you click on all topics, you will see all the web pages for which we have topic-specific pages. Let's quickly look at the page where you can see all the topic pages. Each of these pages, if you click, it will open a page it will open a page for that topic. So this is the benefit options page, which might be absolutely of interest, where we're explaining each benefit the fund pays and also the delaying election of benefit or payout under Article 32. So for you, withdrawal settlement and delaying election is the most important here. And this is a page where you have the eligibility chart, benefit comparison chart, information on how to run estimates, and the video about options. Or if you click on separating or retiring, it opens this page where you have only the topic pages that are most relevant for separating and retiring. So on these pages, you have separation, you have benefit options, you have benefit estimates, and you have overview of the separation process, as well as submitting documents to the fund. These are all useful pages. All right, I'm not going to open them now, just so you know. If you're interested in investments, obviously you can go to the investments pages, which are shown here. I'm not going to go there right now. This would be a page on the fund performance, but I'm not going there right now. Then we have under resources, useful pages that include information about member self-service. I show you that in a moment. You have e-learning modules where you can access those pension e-learning modules. You have the page with information about the pension town hall sessions, which this is a page, and you can see the event tomorrow, the event the day after, and next week the same sessions in French. And you see for past events, you always have click here for the recording and here for the presentation. This is where we will add today's recording and presentation later today. Now, under resources, you also see all videos, all booklets, and other information. I want to go to about member self-service. This is where you get help if you haven't yet registered for member self-service, explaining how to register and also explaining each tab of member self-service and how it can serve you. So if you are not sure about how to register, there is a tutorial how to register for member self-service, as well as how to upload documents, by the way. So once you have registered, and for that you need your name, your date of birth as recorded in the fund's records, plus you need to provide an email address and you need your unique ID number from the fund. If you don't know your unique ID number, you can request it from the fund. You do that by going to registering. And here, to create a member self-service, you need your unique ID number. If you don't know your UID, click here for instructions on how to receive it. When you click there, it will take you to a page where you can access the email address to request your unique ID number. You get the response within 1 day. Let's say you have registered for member self-service. I'm going to go into my own member self-service, so I obviously already registered. If I hadn't yet registered, on this page, I would go to the bottom and click here on register. Do you see the little register at the bottom left? That is where I would go. If I didn't have this pre-completed with my username and password and I forgot my username or password, I could click here underneath to reset them to regain access. Now I log in. I'm going into member self-service. I accept the disclaimer, and here we are inside member self-service. Under accounts on the top right corner, you can change your language preference if you wish, and you can update your email address, reset password, etc. However, what I wanted to show you is the document tab where you can access estimates, but also your pension statement. You see pension statement 2023. Soon you will have your pension statement 2024 visible here. You can access e-forms under e-forms, and E6, the form that you have to complete, is here. You click on it, it will open the form, and you will see it pre-completed with your name and unique ID number. Proof documents, that is where you can track receipt by the fund of the separation documents for your case. I don't have anything showing because I'm not yet separating. Personal information is, of course, about your personal information. And then estimate is where you run your estimate. Here is where you enter a possible separation date, let's say 30th of May. And then you say submit request. You say OK. You see the wheel turns, and now it's ready. The estimate is complete. I can go to the Documents tab, and here is my estimate. And then finally, if you need to upload documents, this is where you go. Here you can upload documents by clicking on the Upload Document. And once you're in there, you can choose a file that you have saved, for example, your payment instructions and supporting documents. This is member self-service. I think it is very useful, and you should definitely make use of it as part of preparing for separation. All right, with that, I'm going to end this presentation. The following pages here are just a reminder of what I showed you in member self-service. Here's a page in the presentation on how to access, but also where to request for technical support for member self-service, should you need it in the future. And then finally, how to contact the fund. Sorry, I didn't show that to you on the website page, but when you go to the fund's website, let me just quickly show you. There you will see here on the top under Contact Us. When you click here, you can choose how to contact us. If you want to contact us by email, there's a form that will open where you select who you are, a participant, for example, what you need help with. You select your topic, you specify this subtopic, you provide your unique ID number, and so on. You can write a note here to us. You submit this, you receive an acknowledgement of submission, and then, of course, you receive a response from the fund once we have reviewed your case and made a case-specific analysis. Otherwise, if you wanted to contact us in a different manner, you can call us. We have a call center that works 24 hours per day from Monday to Friday. There's also a number of toll-free numbers that you can call, so you don't have to pay. And if you wanted to visit us in person, we have offices in New York and Geneva where we have walk-in services. Tuesdays and Thursdays during certain hours. Please consult this page before you come to make sure we are open. And basically that is it in terms of contacting us. Now I will hand over to Denise. We are opening the Q&A. I don't know if it's already open, probably not, but if it's, yes, it is. So if you wish, if you have any questions, you can submit them now and we can take your questions and help answer them. In that case, if you have questions, please go to the Q&A that you may see on your screen and feel free to submit any questions. All questions are helpful, I believe, and we will monitor to see if there's anything we can answer that might be helpful to address in the next 15 minutes. Denise, over to you.
Thank you, Christine. Hello, everybody. I see we have some questions now, and the first one I see is about a withdrawal settlement and whether it can be paid directly to a retirement account. So
IRA.
Yes, so an individual retirement account, or can they only be paid out to checking saving bank accounts? So your withdrawal settlement can be paid, of course, to a bank, your checking or savings account, as long as your name's on the account. But it can be paid to an IRA account, an individual retirement account. There is some additional part of the question about tax, and I would not be in the position to answer the part about that. So I'm wondering if the UNJSPF has an official channel to transfer withdrawal settlements into retiree accounts specifically. We could advise, I guess, in more detail. There is a part, I think maybe you're looking for it here, about rolling over to an IRA. There is information on our website about that. But yes, it is possible. If Christine, if you wanted to add anything to that, otherwise I'll go to the next question.
Thank you. Just maybe to say, if you see here, I'm doing a search right now, and of course the website is a bit slow right now, but rolling over to IRA, you would be taken to a page that would give you an answer. I'll pull it up if I see it. And similarly for taxation, as Denise said, we can't answer taxation questions because the fund does not have the knowledge for that, but we have some basic taxation related information on our website under the topic page, under taxation of benefits, where you can see there's a tax guide, I'm highlighting it here, which includes some useful information, but that's as far as it goes. We don't have any additional information, and if you needed more information about taxation of UN pension withdrawal settlements, you should please consult a tax advisor or financial advisor in the country where you intend to receive this payment. Back to you, Denise.
Thank you. And I see there is another very similar question about taxation for United States tax obligations and rolling over the withdrawal settlement into an IRA or 401k, etc. So I would refer you to this page because there is some information about the American taxes, and there is the tax unit of the UN that you, if you look at their website, it has some useful information as well. So I would refer you to those. There's a question about, is there a possibility to make additional payments to the pension fund in order to reach the required 5 years of contributory service? So if you separate before you've reached the 5 years, you cannot make voluntary contributions beyond your separation date. So unfortunately, that's not possible. And yeah, the only other ways to purchase contributory service, I think, were touched upon, which is validation or restoration and paying contributions during a period of special leave without pay. But if you're not a staff member, you unfortunately are not able to make any payments of contributions during that time that you're not employed. Here's another question about if you want to put back your withdrawal, if you start back in the UN before 36 months from separation, how do you calculate compound interest? Is it 3.25%? So if this is with regard to restoration, so if you took a withdrawal settlement and then returned to service and to the pension fund, and you wanted to pay back that withdrawal settlement to increase your contributory service that is possible, and you would pay the amount that you received, which is your contributions and interest, and the interest would be calculated up to the from your date of separation as well, up to the date of payment, I believe it is, the date that you're, yeah, and it's 3.25%. So I hope that's sufficient answer.
It's good. I think there's just one maybe useful information. If you come back within the same year, which is unusual, but it happens. If you come back within the same year that you received the payment, the withdrawal settlement, and reimburse it, then of course there is no additional compound interest because you are within one fiscal year. But if you come back more than, or the year after having received, or more than the year after having received the payment, then indeed you pay this 3.25% compound. Back to you.
Thank you. Now I see another similar question about wanting to pay additional contributions to increase the contributory service period up to 5 years. And unfortunately, it's not possible. So this was a question about separating with 4 years and 4 months of contributory service and wanting to increase the contributory service to 5 years. And unfortunately, it's not possible to pay contributions beyond your separation date to get up to the 5-year period. Then another question about, can I contribute into the fund now the amount needed to reach 5 years of contributions? If you're on special leave without pay, you can make voluntary contributions during that period, but you will be paying your normal monthly share of contributions plus your organization's share, which is twice the amount you normally pay. If yes, I would be eligible for vested pension rights if I was still in the post contributing uninterrupted for 5 years. Yes, so if you have a staff contract and you're on special leave without pay to take you up to the point that you would have 5 years and you pay the contributions concurrent with your special leave without pay, you would be adding to your contributory service. And if that takes you to 5 years, then you would then become vested. But be aware that you're paying 3 times the normal amount per month that you normally pay as contributions. You need to make the arrangements before you go on special leave without pay. Make those arrangements with your own payroll office. Okay, next question. Yes, please go ahead.
I see one, Denise, that might be of interest. Someone says, okay, I understand that you said it's maybe useful to defer payment for up to 36 months to preserve your date of entry, and with that, your normal and early retirement ages. In my case, since I joined after 2014, my retirement ages have remained unchanged since I joined. So why would I avail of the deferment option since there has been no change? So the person asked, is there any other reason to choose deferment? I would say to that, we don't know when there might be changes to plan design, right? Yes, you joined maybe since or after 2014. And indeed, we have had no changes since 2014 in normal and early retirement age. But there are periodically changes to these ages, which can be based on increased life expectancy of the fund's population, or it can be also sometimes when the plan design has to be revised to adjust to the actual needs of the fund. So while there is no discussion right now to change normal and early retirement ages, it can happen. So if you separate now and we change it 3 years from now, it could impact you. But it is true that since there hasn't been a change since you joined since 2014, is there any other reason why you may want to choose the deferment? In my opinion, not really. The most important part is this preservation of your early and normal retirement ages because you keep your date of entry. But it's up to you, right? It's really a personal choice. I don't know what you think, Denise, if you have any other thoughts on why someone chooses deferment under Article 32. But I think this is probably the main reason why people do it.
Yes, I think the main reason is with the intention or hope that you're going to be reemployed and re-enter the fund and keep your participation continuous.
Okay, back to you.
Okay, thank you. I see a number of questions again about contributions beyond separation date. So just be clear, please, that unfortunately it's not possible to make these contributions beyond your separation date. And then the question was, there's a question about the deferral period. So you have up to 3 years, so up to 36 months from your separation date to submit your payment instructions. If you don't, then it's an additional 2 years before you forfeit the benefit. So the second part of the question was, the interest does not accrue after separation date. So that is the interest stops at separation, even if you leave your money with the fund for up to 36 months. So the main benefit of opting for deferral is the determination of retirement age. I'm not sure what that means, but I think the main reason for opting to leave your money up to 36 months, so not making a benefit election, is with an expectation or hope that you are going to again be a participant in the fund and then keep your participation continuous when you would resume making the contributions. And yes, that would maintain the retirement age if you resume within the 36 months. Finally, can I submit an application for withdrawal prior to termination of my contract? You can submit your payment instructions shortly before you separate, but we cannot make any payments before you separate from service. So we don't allow any type of partial withdrawals or any payments before you separate. Could you clarify whether the 5th year of contributory service begins in the 1st month of year 5 or the 1st month of year 6? So if you need 5 years of contributory service, this means it would be 5 complete years that you had contributed. So the 5th year would begin after 4 years had ended. So the 1st month of year 5, but you would need to complete all 5 years to be vested. How likely is it? Yeah, please go ahead.
You go. I just think
I was moving to another question, but please go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting question too. So I can wait until you have done the one that you're about to present. Yeah.
How likely is it that the age limits will change within a 36-month period? Well, we had the change from retirement age of 62 to 65. That was effective 1 January 2014. I don't know that there's going to be any change within the next 36 months that I'm aware of. There's no plan, but I don't know. I can't really answer that.
It's unlikely, and I would say the previous change was in 1990, so 24 years prior. So I think it shows you that it's a very rare occasion. And previous to 1990, there was no change. So it's basically been from the inception of the fund till 1990, first change for over 40 years, for 50 years probably, and then 25 years later, the next change. So is the likelihood high? No. It's very unlikely.
Yes, thank you. That's true. When it went from 60 to 62 and then 62 to 65, there was a long period in between. So yes, thank you, Christine. There are a few questions about restoration. So there can be really any period of time between your separation and payment of withdrawal settlement and then your return to service and to the fund, and in which you could restore that prior period. The main deadline you have to keep in mind is that once you do resume participation in the fund, you need to make this choice or this request within your first year of resuming participation. But there can be more than 36 months in, the question was about whether there's a limit to the number of years in between. No. In fact, if you, as long as you're aware of this 1 year deadline when you resume, that's the most important thing, that you have to request it within the first year of returning. Someone asked if there's a way to get a certificate or an attestation of the retirement benefit in MSS. So currently you should be able to get a your benefit letter when you separate from service, which will show the amount of your contributions during your career, and it will show what your pension benefit amount is. And then otherwise, you can request a statement that says you're a retiree, this is the date you became a retiree, and your monthly amount, your current monthly amount of your benefit. And we're hoping to make that automated, but currently it's not automated in MSS. So you will still need to request that from the fund.
Denise, I think maybe one more and then we'll close, given that we are half past. Thank you so much.
Let's see.
Someone asks a pretty practical question. How soon should I start to withdraw if my contract ends end of June 2025? So that might be useful to answer. Basically, if you remember what I showed you, in order for the fund to be able to process your benefit, we need your documents from you, the PENS E6 form, the recent bank statement, and a valid ID document, right? So you can start preparing those documents now in May, and you can even submit them to the fund if your organization agrees that you can submit them directly to the fund. You can already upload them right now in member self-service if you wish. However, remember that we can't start processing until we have also received the organizational documents, separation PA and separation notification. So those two documents from HR and payroll in your organization usually can be generated by your organization only after you have separated. And it does take, depending on the organizations, it can take between a couple of weeks up to a couple of months. Your organization can instruct you on what the average time frame is in their organization. And then once we have those documents plus your documents, then we, the fund, can process your benefit. So can you start already, if you're a month away or a month and a half away from separation, to prepare your own documents? Absolutely. And you can even submit them if your organization says that's okay, and you can submit them directly to the fund. But keep in mind, that doesn't mean you get your benefit immediately. We do have to go through the due process and receive all the documents we need to then do the thorough review and calculation of your benefit. I don't know, Denise, if there's anything else that you think we should add?
To that question, no, I think that covers a lot. Thank you. I mean, I know we also have a number of questions that we won't have time to answer.
So I think maybe then we close, but thank you very much for having answered all these questions. Yes, it's a fraction of the questions we received before we closed the chat. I think we received 62 questions in about 2 minutes. So I hope that going back to the presentation, either and the document, the PowerPoint, plus the recording, which we will post on our website, on the specific pension town hall webpage, either by end of today or latest tomorrow. If you feel that you still have questions, please go back to the presentation, go through it in your own time, and hopefully that will answer the questions that you have. Remember, tomorrow we have the next session. Denise will present about the scenario of those separating with 5 or more years of contributory service who are at the time of separation younger than early retirement age. So if you fall into that category and you have time, please join us. We will go through those benefit options tomorrow. So they include an additional option. And again, also go over the other practical aspects of separation and pension tools. And then on Friday, we will cover the scenario of those separating between early and normal retirement ages who have 5 or more years of contributory service. So I hope that this was useful, and thank my colleagues very much, those who organized this session, Denise, of course, for co-presenting, and my colleagues in communications who have helped create the materials. With that, I wish everyone all the best. If you are separating, I hope it goes smoothly, and maybe you're coming back to the UN system in the nearish future and again join the fund, and we'd be happy to serve you if you come back to us, of course. With that, all the best till we talk again in another session. Thank you and goodbye.